Mm-hmm.
Hello, welcome. This is Access Astrology. We are three astrologers that get together every week and talk about what's going on in the sky and what's going on in our inner sky. And there's always something to say. My name is Mark Waltz. I'm part of this broadcast from New York City.
And
And also from New York City.
Ann Ortling here at the Bright Red Desk after a nice, successful dentist visit with no cavities.
woo!
And Heather from Montana.
Yeah, this is Heather Rowan Robbins speaking to you from Western Montana. Today I'm back home after being in New Mexico and Seattle and back. Last week we skipped a week because there were just too many uh, irons in the fire and it couldn't happen. But normally we're happy to be back.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting evening with oh, sorry, that's not the right chart. That's somebody else's chart. We'll throw that away. And we'll take a look at this week's the solstice. And I have the solstice in DC and the solstice here. So this will be this coming Sunday at on the 21st. And between now and the Sunday, we have that the last weekend of the sun in Gemini and the moon in Virgo. It's a great weekend to get a lot of work done. And then we see this solstice. I did it for DC because it feels like this ingress is an important one. And Uranus and Mars will be just moving past, coming into closer coincidence and right on the ascendant and in the 12th house. So that's going to be interesting. And what do you think about this ingress chart for DC?
I actually like it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm scheduling a workshop for Saturday before. What's your vision? Because
Mm-hmm.
all the
Mm-hmm.
planets now are in their new signs, the outer
Yep.
planets, and it's a great weekend with the sun on a world point. Because solstice means sun stops, and
And
he
it will.
stops there, and he pauses, and then he heads back towards the equator. So it's the highest the sun goes. That's Remo's tale because he's here. Far be it from my cat to skip a podcast, right, Remo? With
Yes.
Mark
He's our mascot.
also broadcasting from the Bright Red Desk is Remo, the one cat, right here he is.
Right?
But so we're doing a vision quest on that Saturday, kind of thinking about what's your vision, what's your dream, because the Neptune in fire, and what is it you're going to change, Uranus, working with that transformational energy of the trine to Pluto. And Uranus and Pluto are moving into one of 5 trines that they have. Now, when they met in the 60s, they were the civil rights, the women's rights, the gay rights. And now they're coming to a trine 5 times. So this is the first. And it's also about, well, how are you going to carry those dreams out into the world? And with the Saturn-Neptune meeting up at 0 Aries on a world point on February 20th, the sun now squaring that point activates it. It's an opening square. Opening squares are always take action and do something. So this is a really juicy ingress to do something on, because the planets are now, because in the one in March, they weren't all in, Uranus was still hanging out in Taurus. So I love it. It's a bold chart indicating that the world wants to partner with us. We have a lovely moon in Virgo with great close aspects approaching a trine to the Mars in Taurus. The Mars in Taurus answers to Venus in Leo, saying, what's your heart's path? Not just all that other stuff. What's your heart want you to do? And then that Mercury, Jupiter in Cancer is a very gentle wish. What's your gentle wish? And again, Mercury is sextile to the Mars, which is a working energy. And Mars is in a closing sextile to Jupiter, saying, you've been here for a while. What do you want to be known for? What do you want to create physically? So I think it's a beautiful, beautiful chart for us to have some magic. And also, for the first time in 50 years, Chiron has gone into Taurus, which indicates it's been in Aries in this last patch. And Taurus has a lot about grounding your reality and physically working on what your soul needs to do to heal. So I think it's a
And I thought that was interesting that in the last 8 years, because it's in Aries longer than any other sign because it has such an irregular orbit, that we've been dealing, what is the pain that we are learning to heal from? Hopefully, you don't always heal from your Chiron wounds, but it's been around masculinity and war around Aries. It's also around what do we want to do to speak up for ourselves and to boldly go forth. We have not gone before our Star Trek self, but I think that we've really been dealing with, and it will come back again in the fall because it's just in Taurus for the summer.
right.
Then next spring it goes in for the next 6 or 7 years. But right now, it's going to shift. It shifts, that Aries Taurus goes from one of the traditionally yang signs to traditionally yin, to like from this kind of warrior self to the, earth mother self. And it will be, I think there's a lot about money, materiality, who's, the oligarchs, and what do we do with land, and how do we have, how do we feel about our own budget, let alone the financial budget of the country as Chiron goes into Taurus. And maybe some other kind of juicier things, sensuality. How do we reconnect with that after these last few years? But I think we won't be out of the Mars, the Aries challenge with both Neptune and Saturn still in Aries for a while. But I think there's going to be a shift when Chiron leaves Aries.
Yeah. He doesn't go on and on about his wound. He gets about doing things. Yeah.
Right.
What do you notice about the solstice chart?
Well, that Uranus Mars in the 12th house, I think, is really interesting for Washington, D.C. And they're trined by the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So it brings a lot of whatever that sort of so far hidden aggression is. By surprise, Uranus will deliver some of it, and the moon will help draw it out into the public. So
Yeah,
I'm
it's
looking
going to
for,
hit a grand trine that afternoon as it
yep,
goes into Libra, and a good time for a solstice gathering.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. As the
Now,
moon, as the moon goes into Libra.
right, as the moon goes into Libra, the Jupiter heads into Leo. That's the last of the planets changing signs, the outer planets, or its kind of middle planet, as on the 30th, just as Mercury stations. So that's going to be an interesting shift with Mercury retrograde for the beginning uh, of July, for most of July. It's going to be interesting to see what Jupiter heading into Leo, which can add panache and expression to so many things, but can really amp up the mm, melodrama or the performative sense of life rather than the authentic self. I think authenticity, Leo with authenticity is a powerful healing charisma. Leo without authenticity is sort of the worst of the performance. And we'll see what Jupiter brings into this because it's going to echo off all the other planets that have just changed signs.
The
And
drama will put something on the table,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to view it as the drama is the drama, and you can get as involved in it as you want. But there's a package of it right in the middle of the table. So
Yeah.
open it up, take a look, pick up what you want to work with, and decide when you're going to let it go.
Mhm, mhm.
And I think that I'm going to be using that weekend right before the solstice to kind of clear the decks and really prepare for summer, both on our land and in ourselves. But I think you've got that point about visioning. How do you use the time right before the solstice to uh, really, choose? You're stepping into a new chapter, and how do we step into that new chapter with good ways of being? It's interesting that we talked last week about, or a couple weeks ago, about the communication new beginnings at that new moon in Gemini. And that was just when the treaty came out with Iran that was, a repeat of the old treaties, only worse, but it was still arrived. And ways of communication. I gather there was an interesting paper on that new moon in Gemini that the Iranian, somebody who was working with the Iranian government said that they had been very confused about their negotiations with Trump. So they brought in a team of psychologists that specialized in senior dementia. And they said, how do we communicate with someone like this? And they got coaching points and how to rephrase their suggestions, and we got the treaty passed. So that was just an interesting aside,
Wow.
talking about how do we change our communication to really be successful, and that's part of what the Gemini energy that we're just leaving.
And this is what the Uranians did, right? They
The
talked.
Iranians did that.
Can we all talk to them?
Yeah, seriously. Like, can you send that report?
Can you send that over to us? Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting. And again, I have no evidence, but the person that I heard speaking about this seemed to have had good sources.
Yeah. Well, and the thing to remember also when Jupiter goes into Leo, he is going to gallop. We're in the year of the fire horse, right? Back to 1566. He's going to gallop all the way from 0 to 2710. And by 12. So he's got a straight run. So every planet in your chart under 27 degrees and 10 minutes is going to get a little of the fire of Jupiter's vision.
Dun, dun.
The inspiration. Yeah. Some kind of aspect. It can be a square, it can be a trine, it can be a quincunx, but you're going to get lit up as he gallops along and hands you the fire. So think about when you've been in a church and it's dark and everybody lights the candle and then everybody's candle gets lit. So it's a very interesting time because we're kind of in the dark as Jupiter finishes up his Cancer journey, gets ready to go into Leo. And so there's this anticipatory energy. Remember, when planets are at the last degrees, they tend to really shout out. So with Jupiter at the last degrees of Cancer, really shouting out the emotional needs that we have before he goes into, okay, how do I shine in the world?
Yep.
Big week ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Not easy.
No. And Jupiter, one of the charts I want to bring up is one of our regulars over the years died this week, or died last week. And we want to honor her very surprisingly to most people. But you see this lineup of planets in Leo in the 6th house. I know that she had recovered from a brain aneurysm a few years ago, and we just couldn't get her to go to take care of her heart, which had worried all of us, and it was a heart attack that took her out in the middle of the night. With this lineup of planets in Leo with a Mars-Jupiter conjunction, I suspect it was an electrical, like the electrical impulses in the heart were not working, but we don't know. This is her chart with its progressions and transits. We don't have the exact time. We know it was overnight on that night that, you woke up not there. But often the Jupiter transits are sometimes what we see, and it was a Jupiter trine. Jupiter was in her 6th house. That Jupiter can be a liberating aspect, and sometimes that can be like, okay, she'd come through so much. She had just relocated and reorganized some things and overcome some major hurdles. And, one way you'd say, okay, you're ready to start over again. But sometimes that chapter is a little bit bigger. They're starting over than we think. But I want to just kind of honor that she went through this and that we are aware of her circumstance. Anne, do you have anything you would like to say in respect to this?
She's a wonderful woman. And her son is the light of her life. and he posted on Facebook that she had passed, um, and I think she was just a really terrific mother, to
Mm-hmm.
him, and just a really wonderful friend.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very good sense of humor. Um, Also very cranky, good. When the Leo got good, cranky lion that she would kind of complain, but you would laugh. She would
Mm-hmm.
make you laugh. And I think that gift of that Leo, and he was trying to get her to go to the doctor, and she was stubborn. She's Aquarius rising with the moon in Taurus, and all those Leo planets are pretty stubborn.
Fixed,
So
fixed, fixed. Yeah.
fix. But I just really, wish her a good journey to the new land wherever
Yeah.
she's. And I know she's going to be watching out for her son.
I
Yes.
know she is. And that, it is not to scare anybody around health issues, but when you see a predominance of planets, like she has her south node in Aries, and so the south node can be a part of your body that holds stress. And she had a brain aneurysm, which they caught in plenty of time
They fixed.
because she paid attention to it.
She paid attention.
The
Yep.
She had that lineup of planets of Leo in the sixth house of health, and that is and small animals and other things. But it is, and I think she was fairly involved in around the entertainment industry back in the day. And that just says, you see that lineup, you say, take care of your heart, take care of your circulation, take care of your liver.
Mhm.
It can be a point to say, how do you honor how your body works, not how do you worry about it, but how do you honor how your body works.
Yep. And
Yeah,
also, she had a lovely woman. Yep. Mark, I didn't mean to interrupt.
it's actually it's a remarkable chart. She has a mystic rectangle. You don't always see that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a kind of magician energy. She
Mm-hmm.
can create stuff out of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that, if you look, Neptune, Saturn, Moon, and Sun,
Mm-hmm.
there's your mystic rectangle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Pluto plays into it in a minor grand trine,
Mhm.
and it's there's that all that power of Pluto.
Yep.
So
Mm-hmm.
she knows all this, and she was able to do a lot that without really knowing where it came from. It's just she's the channel for it. So she channeled.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a very strong Aquarius rising. She knew her astrology really well, and she would also be very, you know, uh, and
So
much
we wish her well. Her progressed moon had just entered the eighth. We wish her well on her journey, and send her off with, may the angels ease her home.
better.
And we have one more chart here. Elizabeth from Melbourne, we spoke to about 2 years ago, and she felt very good about the advice we gave her. Thank you. Now she's looking at a new job and wondering if we can give her some advice on what is it like to take that job and stepping into this new chapter in her life. And so, again, we have a lot of fixed energy here, but with the Gemini sun, her sun, when you see whatever planet you've got that's between 4 and 6 degrees this year is going to be where the change hits you. And all of these planets are going to be talking to that point at the same time.
Yeah.
So in mid June, she's going to have, Uranus, Pluto, uh, Jupiter, Neptune, and all talking to her sun. And that's in the third house of, how do you communicate? How do you connect to other people? What's happening in your neighborhood? So it really feels like it's an important year to be stepping into change. Uh,
And Mercury retrograde shadow had her meant mid-July. She meets me.
mhm,
She's at mid-July.
mhm. She's got her progressed moon coming to conjunct Uranus. There
Mm-hmm.
may not settle in right away to the issues. It may be, that there is some changing or moving or shifting around in the new job. when she first gets there, some adjustments that she may need to make, or she may even need to move, is part of the process of changing jobs.
But I think it looks positive because the South Node's going through the sixth house of work.
Mm-hmm.
It's going
Mm-hmm.
to come to your Saturn, which is one of the indicators of what you're here for. Saturn co-rules your 10th house, which is your calling and purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
rules your 11th, which is the money from your career and the hopes and dreams. So as the node comes to Saturn in July, and right now he's on your Venus, which is, this sounds interesting to me. Is it what I want to do? So I think you've got lovely aspects for it, and a
Mm-hmm.
little bit
Mm-hmm.
of lack of clarity because Neptune's on the South Node, but a lot of energy. But it does look like it kind of feeds something really important for you. So I
Yep.
like, and also the node in the sixth house often does bring in changes that you're ready for in a different level. And coming to the ruler of your co-ruler of your career sector, plus Jupiter's going into Leo, right, in your sixth house of work, fifth house, and then sixth house of work, because he gets to 27 and hits your Saturn in December. And also, you're having Saturn in your first house, which is time to put down new roots and new structures back like you did in 97, 98. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when you were
Mm-hmm.
20. So it's everything old is new again. You're ready for this new chapter.
Yeah, it certainly seems like that.
Yeah,
And mhm.
you may have a feeling though that you're backing into it, and you're not really though. Just put one foot in front of the other, and the feet will take you where you need to go.
Mhm. And Jupiter will be going through your fifth house. I have a feeling this will bring in some really interesting creative juice, very interesting new people, creative collaborations, um, good connections in this next phase. You'll really feel it. And it looks like the first 2 years, the first 23 months with your progress moon in Scorpio will be about you getting your feet underneath you and making the adjustments in your life and getting to know the new people, but it won't be super outgoing. That'll be that there's a new phase of really connecting to the people in about 2 years. And then looks very busy because your progress moon then goes through Sagittarius, through Capricorn, across the top of your chart, which can be the time when you're really putting into place the work of your next cycle. So have fun, experiment. It's, that's what, with the progressed moon coming to Uranus and Uranus sitting on your sun, it is a year of trying new things and experimenting and learning new skills and trying new ways of being in the world and trying new ways of communicating. Don't try to settle in and be successful at one thing. Keep adjusting it and exploring what this new phase of your life is calling from you.
Yeah,
Any other questions, comments on that?
I think that's the plan.
Okay. So I'm going to bring it back to the chart for tonight now that I found the right year. And I had done it for Thursday of
Mercury
2024.
retrograde shadow. Yeah, and remember,
Yes, yes.
you are in Mercury retrograde shadow, right? So your ghosts are back. I talked to somebody I hadn't talked to in like 8 years last night.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I have my 50th college reunion in
Oh, my
2 weeks.
goodness.
I know, hard to believe it's 50 years, but I
I,
graduated in 76, so it's 50 years. Yeah,
isn't that amazing?
I
Isn't that
know.
amazing? Yep. I was at my grandson's high school graduation last week. That was such a strange feeling.
Mhm.
So, and it was lovely, and it was very, very Seattle, very radical, very kind of like the arts high school.
Mm.
So it is that review. Yeah, give yourself time to give yourself that little extra time with Mercury in its shadow, turning retrograde in a few weeks. But it is a good time not to hurry and make mistakes, but to get the deck, clear the decks as much as possible. Get those letters written, deal with those the misunderstandings now while Mercury is direct. One of the things that I've noticed with all these planets in Cancer, with Mercury in particular in Cancer, is that I'm touchy. People around me have been touchy. They can be friendly, la la la. and then you say the wrong thing and they'll take it personally and go into full defense mode, real Cancer crab self-protection really quickly. So it's a time to be particularly careful about how you say things with people, and to say it as kindly and gently as possible. And if somebody hits you crossways, ask for clarification rather than armor up right away. I think it's wonderful for storytelling. It's wonderful for all kinds of things, but it can have that hair trigger defense, which can be politically tricky, but it's also, wary at the moment.
Right. And also with the Saturn Vesta Athena, they're hanging out together in a clump. So if we think of Saturn as, the new structures we're building based on these new dreams or these new ideas coming in, and Vesta is the physical land, our body, our self, our work. But Athena is our strategic approach to it. So I think that's a really interesting little clump of planets because they've been activated a lot, with the Jupiter, with the sun, with the moon coming, talking to them and giving them ideas or giving them focus. And so there's like a clarity that's working, even if the top is muddled still because the Neptune not clear. It feels like there's stuff coalescing underneath, and that is true. It's not clear, but you can feel it burbling down there.
Yeah.
Right
And
before a pot gets to a boil, you can kind of see it getting ready. And so that conjunction in Aries is very important. If you have stuff, especially with 13,
mhm.
it's really triggering.
And in that conjunction, Saturn is kind of uneasy because he's in Aries, and it's not the way Saturn likes to work.
Right.
Yep. It's
He wants to have things
like
more
the
under
old
control.
king wearing armor.
Yeah.
It I also see that Venus is today just pulling away from an opposition to Pluto, which was exact yesterday, Wednesday, and on Tuesday, and on Monday and Tuesday. But I think I've noticed so many things in the news and on Facebook around the disrespect of females and feminine empowerment since, the wrestler leaving the White House said, Michelle Obama was a man, as if that was an insult, but him being a man, which I thought was kind of funny. But it is like and then the response was intensely back, no, like, no, women have power. You must be afraid of women's power. And I think that Venus Pluto opposition has a lot to do with the question around the empowerment, not just of women, but of the anima and men and of art and of the role of that creative approach that Venus brings forward. So it's been interesting to watch that this week.
Yeah. I reacted badly to that. But my friend Patrick wrote a lovely piece. So I had a little rant. I said I would be ranting about this guy being on steroids. So that means his penis is small because they shrink when you're on roids. And he's an alcoholic because he vomited on himself during the weigh-in.
Uh,
And may his penis continue to shrink and his liver explode. I mean, I was
you
my
were ready to taking it down. I
I
just thought, like, what an idiot,
I would do
But
that, but my friend Patrick has a much nicer way of saying it, and Patrick had a
mhm,
beautiful thing that he
that's
posted.
good.
Yeah,
But I like most people's response has been just to speak of the power and the beauty that she stands for, and so many women stand for the power and the beauty and the empowerment of the anima. And here in Gay Pride Week month, we have a lot about the anima and the culture that's not necessarily women, but we all hold Venus. We all have Venus. How do we express that? So how do we empower that this week?
exactly.
I think it's a powerful part. Wonderful. And I will put this up. Mark, can you want to take us out with a solstice um, a solstice meditation, a thought on how to work with this solstice?
Yeah. Take the chart for the solstice and make it your own. You can do that by first of all lining up the sun at 0 Cancer, saying where is that in your chart? Let that be the center of what you're seeing in your chart. So wherever that zero Cancer point is, place that in your chart and then line up your planets around it and see how this solstice brings you a little different way of looking at the various planets that line up with your chart.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
beautiful. Hmm.
Ready for a whole new life.
Yep.
Whole new chapter again. In
Enjoy the
case of Debbie, ready for a whole new life.
and a whole new life. And this is the sunniest weekend of the year. That means that next week it starts to get a little darker earlier. But right in this peak growing season, everything is so abundantly alive here in the northern hemisphere. Really take that in. Yeah. So we'll see you next week. This is Heather Rowan
Okay.
Robbins from Montana.
Mark Waltz from New York.
And Ann Ortley from New York. And Remo left, so I don't know where he's
Yeah.
at. He says goodbye too.
Okay.
Okay.
Take care.
Thanks for
See you
listening.
next week.
Bye, everybody.